In my dreams, I walk free in the city streets. 2,500 days plus 50 weeks. Doing hard time for these WikiLeaks. Trying to bring the truth out, man, it only gets you weak. And then they gag you. You don't get to speak. And when you get the leak, they try to hit the leak. The masters of the masses, they want this shit to street. That's why my middle finger's up to these sick elites. Playing on the regular. You keep the messenger. Free speech is the freedom of press. Take your deepest, darkest secrets, never leave them unsaid. If I'm a thief, then I'm a thief for the people you dread. The people want the red, while the blue you keep them in bed. Seeking the sheep, keep them asleep, deceiving the weak. Keep seeking the leech till you cease, and I see your defeat. Until I'm deceased underneath a freezer-red sheet. Become a dead man, then I hit the switch and release. Goldman Sachs, Goldman Sachs, Goldman Sachs is your creditor. Kill the messenger. Outside my window, a figure quickly creeps. They dark as night, like some motherfucking chimney sweeps. Whiskey what my Mickey keeps, dying in my kidneys weak. Silence of my risky tweets, what the grand jury seeks. I'm wanting peace, like 7 years in Tibet. Now rest in peace, like 7 years under threat. Cause I released 7 vaults, they upset. They ended the rape sentence, but the US still insists to rest. I guess it's a sin to take the truth and disseminate. MLK to Gandhi, take him and eliminate. And I don't say I'm great, just wanna say what's fake. But if they kill me, a million others will take my place. The CIA's post like a knife the sharpest. All hypocrisy, lies, and heartless. They want to stop me, my life, make my heart quit. Cause democracy dies in the darkness. Cause democracy dies in the darkness. You kill the messenger. You kill the messenger. Democracy dies in the darkness. Darkness.
Hi everyone, I'm hoping I've set this up right. It's been a while since I've been live actually, it's been a couple of weeks since I've done a live stream from the studio. Hi everyone, yeah, UK is getting cold, Carey Skates, you are right, it is getting cold. To the point where we're actually thinking, I'm going to have to go and buy a quilt for the winter. Not good, really isn't good, I wish I lived somewhere hot. Thanks very much, Horror Fan, that's really nice. Youth View said on Periscope, Periscope, so I assume is Twitter. Has Phillips been reselected or what? Well, I'm just looking for the latest, because obviously Jess Phillips does face a trigger ballot meeting on tonight. It doesn't look like there's anything latest. I wouldn't have thought it will get very far. There's only about 500 Labour members in Birmingham Yardley, apparently, which is where Jess Phillips is the Member of Parliament for. There's only about 500 in that area, and apparently she's very well liked among the Labour members of Yardley. So I very much doubt whether she'll be reselected or deselected, or whatever it is that they do that just doesn't happen enough. Hope you're doing better, says Darren Levy. Yeah, I want to cover that actually, Darren. I'm glad you said that. Thanks, mate. My back's been hurting me, everybody. Again, I've had problems with my back for decades, and I've recently been fixing it with yoga, and then I stopped doing the yoga because the weather came in and I couldn't go out and do it in the rain, or I don't really want to do it in the rain. And now I've hurt my back again. So yeah, I hurt my back, which is why for the last few days you haven't really had any videos from me, because I've been in a bit of pain and I don't really like taking pills. I'm a bit of a martyr like that. So I took it easy the last week. To be honest, I've been feeling burnt out anyway, not just with the bad back thing. Yeah, that's the reason for the lack of videos. But I mean, there will be quite a few. I've got quite a bit to talk about tonight. So I might hang around for a good amount of time tonight. I've got a lot to talk about. I hope you like it. But now I'm guessing though, because I've had 2 requests to go on radio shows in the last week that I've turned down to talk about Brexit, that you're all expecting me to talk about Brexit. Well, I don't need to, I don't think, because nothing has really changed, has it? Nothing has really changed. Let me repeat my stance on Brexit. I am, so far as I can tell, the only person in the whole of the media who has got Brexit right. In that my stance on Brexit the day before the referendum in 2016 was, you cannot have an in-out referendum without first defining what out is. The reason being, if you don't define what out is, then you leave the door ajar for a lot of bureaucratic red tape to go on down the line, and the powers that be that don't obviously want Brexit, remember they linked arm in arm and said don't vote it. It leaves the door ajar for them to wrap it up in bureaucratic red tape. Has anything happened in the last 3.5 years that anybody can say, yeah, you were wrong there, Gordon? Now, I voted Remain, remember, in that Brexit referendum because of that. For that reason. I remember explaining my reasoning to my mother before the vote came in, because my mother and my next door neighbour went down, and then both of them called me Judas for eventually voting for Remain, because for the 6 weeks previously I was basically convincing them on why we should leave. Anyway, that's my stance on it. And my stance is, you will always, because you did that, because you left the door ajar in that way, you are always going to have a referendum, another one. I said another one, at least 2, because in the back of my mind I had the Northern Ireland issue. And obviously Scotland would want another referendum as a result. And I've said for the last 18 months that Brexit, they don't want to give it you. They don't want to give you Brexit. And the primary reason for that is because a Brexit, most people would say, would lead to the breakup of the United Kingdom. Almost certainly. Scotland, remember, wants to stop in the European Union. Why? I don't know. Maybe they want us to get our nukes out of their backyard. I don't know. It's up to the Scottish. I'll let history dictate what they think they should do with regards to the future, considering that we're going to be facing a very volatile future in the future, and you only need to look at the past as to how the English have treated the Scots and the Irish, and basically every other country on the planet. That's my stance on it. You're always going to have another referendum, and my stance on it is, what you are seeing there right now is political theatre. Boris Johnson knows they're not going to give you Brexit. However, it's very popular and looks very popular if he looks like he's trying to give it people, knowing that he won't. They would rather lock him up in the Tower of London. And believe me, they will do that if it gets to that. They don't want to give it him. But it looks extremely popular, what he's doing. And all the time, it's making Jeremy Corbyn and making Jeremy Corbyn's hand weaker and weaker. And remember, that really is the biggest threat to them. It's not the Brexit. It's not the breakup of the United Kingdom. It's the Jeremy Corbyn Prime Ministership. Because the Jeremy Corbyn-led government might actually give you those things. I don't think you're going to get them with anybody else, to be quite honest. That's my assessment of it. They may say they will, but they won't. Boris Johnson has already started making empty promises in his campaign pledges. So what's going on down there is a political theatre until eventually they have their second referendum. Eventually they'll have it. That's my stance on it. Now, if I end up being wrong about this, I'll end up being wrong. But up until this point, I've been right. 100%. So I don't need to talk about it. I don't need to talk about the theatre that's going on down there. But what I will say is this. Remember, Boris Johnson prorogued, or tried to prorogue Parliament for those extra X amount of days, those extra 7 days which he bookended a party conference, the breakup for the party conferences. And I said that wasn't a coup, even though people said it was. It is a coup, just that wasn't it. That was him doing political theatre. The coup is you don't have a democracy. That's the coup. The coup is the national security state have taken over the country. That's the coup. Not Boris Johnson. Because I might be wrong on this, of course. He might not get another referendum. But until something else changes, honestly, there are more important things to look at in the world. And there are more important things to look at in this country. And that's what I'm going to try and focus on. And it's going to start tonight. Because, like I say, what have they achieved since they've got back from this, you know, when they got the High Court to step in, or the Supreme Court to step in and, you know, what have they achieved? That next day, the next 2 days, actually, I watched it. It was disgusting. It was just people shouting at each other. There was nobody there actually trying to fix anything. They were all in it for themselves, and they were all posturing and all positioning themselves politically on what was best politically for them and their little. They weren't thinking for a second what's best for the constituents that I represent. They weren't thinking that. And obviously this, again, doesn't bode well for Jeremy Corbyn, and he's the real enemy for them. What you're seeing at the moment is political theatre, as far as I'm concerned, and you're seeing the media circus around it, that, you know, reporting on this political theatre. But yeah, it's all smoke-filled coffee house crap down there. Until something changes, let me know. When there's another referendum, I'll start paying attention again when they call it. Until then, rather. I don't want to know. I mean, the shouting and the swearing and everything those first 2 days when they came back from the proroguement, it was like children. I remember Jess Phillips saying, you know, we can now get on and it's unbelievable. She said the fact that we're back there, that's proof democracy's working. It's like, no. If democracy was working, you would already have left the European Union. If you had done your job and democracy was working, that was it. It's proof that our democracy is working. Now let us do our jobs. You did your jobs and democracy was working, you would have left the European Union already. Stop with this BS. You know? Lots of shouting and lots of arguing. Nothing else has really been achieved there. And I don't think anything will happen with regards to it until people get into the streets and stop listening to our lying media. As far as Boris Johnson goes, it's the Trump playbook, people. Whatever he promises you, it's a Trump promise. Whatever. 20,000 police, Trump promise. Bridge to Ireland, Trump promise. It's a Trump promise. You know, remember what Trump said to him? Oh, we're going to bring back coal jobs. And that's how he got the Rust Belt and got elected. Have any of those jobs come back, or have the jobs gone away? Because it's coal and it's filthy. You can't brand filthy stuff clean coal, clean so-and-so. You can't suddenly rebrand shit clean shit. But he did, and they believed him, and that's what Boris Johnson's going to give you right up until the election. Don't vote Lib Dem. I will say that. You're just voting Tory. Okay? Don't vote Lib Dem. Seriously, don't. You're voting Tory. If you're going to vote Tory, vote Tory. What do I say about that? I want to get to a quick story, actually. I had what I wanted. I had planned what I... Oh, shit. Bloody thing. Excuse me, my mouse wasn't working. Mouse isn't working. Yeah, I had everything planned of what I wanted to talk about tonight. And I was thinking, oh, there isn't really enough there. And then I saw a story on Twitter that really piqued my interest. So I was on Twitter and I saw this. Nope, no, I didn't. That's something else. I was on Twitter and I saw this just before I came on air, actually, from Alex Twitter Tiffin. And he highlights this from Mirror Politics today. Tory Department of Work and Pension Chief welcomes a move to offer food bank vouchers to ex-Thomas Cook staff. This is the Thomas Cook, the airline agency that's just gone bump. Tory DWP chief welcomes move to offer food bank vouchers to ex-Thomas Cook staff, says the Daily Mirror. Therese Coffey says she welcomes the support that's given to help people in this difficult time. As she spoke out on the collapse in the Commons, she welcomes the support that's given to help people in this difficult time. Food bank vouchers. Tories back Thomas Cook staff going to food banks. This is the world we live in. Forget the Brexit stuff. This is the important stuff. This is what's really happening. The new Tory welfare chief has said she welcomes reports that food bank vouchers are being offered to former Thomas Cook staff. Therese Coffey said offering stricken workers 3-day emergency parcels would help them in a, quote, difficult time. Yeah, difficult. It's difficult when, you know, the state of the economy has meant that you won't be able to pay your mortgage or put food on the table and feed your kids. Difficult time. I wonder if Therese Coffey is having a difficult time. And the Work and Pension Secretary urged them to approach job centres to claim universal credit after 9,000 staff in the UK were left jobless. 9,000. Her comments appear to conform reports last week that laid-off workers were using the charity food vouchers and relying on financial help from friends and family. Yeah. Welcome to the real world, Thomas Cook. It's been happening for a while. Miss Coffey, who became Department and Work and Pensions Chief a month ago, spoke out for the first time in the Commons over the collapse. Labour MP Lisa Forbes said former Thomas Cook employees are, quote, being offered food bank vouchers by the Department for Work and Pensions. Former Thomas Cook worker sells wedding dress on eBay to make men's week. There's another article. And Therese Coffey said offering stricken workers 3-day emergency parcels would help them in a difficult time. If you want to read the rest of this article, go and read it, but I won't read it all. But I want to actually just get to one part of this article and one part of what they said. The Work and Pensions Secretary urged them to approach job centres to claim universal credit after 9,000 staff in the UK were left jobless. To those people who are, those 9,000 people, many of which are going to go and have to go to the job centre now and claim universal credit, I want to give you a window into what your life is going to be like for the next year if you are claiming it for a year. Because I was on universal credit. I was on universal credit up until January this year. I was on universal credit when I applied for universal credit back in November 2017, just as many of those people from Thomas Cook are going to be applying for it now. I applied for it in November 2017, and what I was told, well, actually, I applied for work in a department In November 2017, I applied for working tax credits, and working tax credits said to me, well, universal credit is coming out in December in your area, therefore we can't take your case on. You need to apply for working universal credit, and what you need to do is you need to tell them, you tell them this, and send them the email, and they'll backdate it. Okay, so I waited. It was December the 6th, they said. So I waited until December the 6th, and I sent the email off to the job centre to apply for universal credit. Universal credit then sent me an email back saying, actually, it doesn't roll out until January. It's been postponed by 3 weeks. So I had Christmas. I had December 2017 with no money. I just had what I was making from my websites at the time, which was not a lot. I was writing a book. And I was making, I think I managed to scrape by about £60 in AdSense in December of that year. So I had to go through the whole month. Now, I was fortunate because I got a family and friends who I could rely on and who believed in me. And I got through that Christmas. I can obviously buy people presents and what have you, which is sad. But I got through it. And it's not presents that count, it's the love of your family. And then in January, I went in to Universal Credit. I walked into the job centre after sending them an email on the 1st of January and got a response. I think it was on the 2nd of January. I walked in and I was greeted by a young lady there. And well, I'll say young, she was probably in her 40s. She was lovely. She was fantastic. She asked me what I was doing, and I said, I'm doing something with my websites, and I'm an internet marketer, and I'm writing a book. And she said, well, what you're doing then is you're basically being self-employed, and we can treat you like a business. I said, right, okay, Gordon Dimmack Limited it is then. And she said, well, because we're going to treat you like that, what we do is we treat you as if you're a full-time employee. I said, okay. And she said, and what you will do is you will obviously we'll have to show that you're making money. I said, well, I already am. I've already made money in the last couple of months. And it's getting more and more. This month I'm expecting it's going to be a couple of £100 I'm going to make. And she said, well, what we do is we basically top up your wages. We treat it like your wages then to get to your minimum income floor. Okay. And I said, what's that? And she said, well, it's what the minimum wage is. Okay. So whatever the minimum wage was at that time, and £8.50 or whatever it was, I would basically, what it would basically mean was I would get enough to pay my rent and live. And I was obviously working as well. And if I proved for the next year that, my business was viable and it was something that could make money and support myself, then, they would keep paying it me and support me through that year. That's what I was told when I went in there. She said, how did you get through Christmas? I said, with the help of friends and family. I said, by the way, I applied back in November. You're going to obviously backdate it. And she said, yes, we'll sort all that out. And she said, do you need some money to tide you over? And because you obviously won't get anything for 4 or 5 weeks or whatever it was until the second week in February. And I said, well, I've got none at all. So she gave me an advance of £600 and said that I would have to pay £50 per month. £50 would get taken off my payment over the following months until I'd paid off the £600. I said, well, that's fine. I'll just pay it off when you give me what you owe me from December when it's backdated. Okay, I went on, and then January I continued. I think I wrote, Russiagate basically was done, and the book that I was writing back then, and I continued with my websites and, expanding things. And February came, and I filled out my form, and I was expecting them to top. I think I made something like £300, so I was expecting them to top me up with about £700 of, to reach that minimum income floor. And I logged into my Universal Credit account and there was zero there. And the payment was zero. Payment due, zero. So I rang them up and I had a bit of a barney on the phone with them and ended up having to catch the bus up to Wolverhampton and sort it out. And I was up there for about an hour and a half. And basically what I was told was everything that I was told in January, everything was false. Everything I had been told was false. I was expected to earn over the minimum wage on the system that they'd set up for me, otherwise I would get nothing. Now I had to explain the situation to them all and explain how angry and upset I was. Obviously I was apoplectic at the time, as you can imagine. But the guy I spoke to, he was great. The staff there were great, honestly. Universal, the frontline staff I spoke to at Universal Credit were fantastic anyway, in my experience. As soon as you go anywhere above them, forget it. But anyway, that's just my experience. I realise that they're not all great, and I maybe, but let's face it, that woman was totally wrong. She fed me a load of crap. Everything that she said was wrong. So basically, after a while, they ended up sending me money, but it wasn't as much as I expected. What it actually turns out was I would get about it's about £650, but for every pound I made of my own, 50 pence would come off that. So for every pound I earned up to that minimum income floor, I was only getting 50 pence. So straight away, it's almost like you could almost say, well, Universal Credit, you go on that, you basically halve the money you get. You do. Because they take 50 pence off the money that they give you for every pound that you earn. That's the rules. As a result, I ended up getting something like a payment of about £500, and my rent was, obviously took a massive chunk of that. And I managed to get through February. And actually, I managed to get through February. And February was the month was the year anniversary. Was it? Yeah, February this month I started my channel. The reason I started this channel was I thought maybe, promote what I was doing, promote the book. I didn't know where it was going to go. And things went from there, with it sort of morphed into this. But it was something that I'm very good at. It's something that I was persistent at, and it's something that I could prove I could make money in, and people would support me. So, as it turns out with Universal Credit, I ended up getting something like 400 and something pounds as a result. After they took off the amount, because I'd made £200 that month, so they took £100 off me straight away. This is the sort of thing that the Thomas Cook staff are going to find out about Universal Credit. This is just from one person's experience. I know people in my chat right now who have got similar. I know that for a fact because I've talked to them about it. So February came and I said, listen, this is unfair on me, what you've been told, what you've told people. I want to launch a complaint. And I launched a complaint into Universal Credit. I think it was the beginning of March. I think the original official complaint went in, because after a few weeks I said, where's my complaint gone? And they said, oh, you need to send an official complaint in. So I finally wrote a complaint in March. And then I got my March payment, March of 2018. And they'd taken £76 off me, more this time, for what they called an overpayment of working tax credits in 2015. Because I was, at one stage, I had 8 months payments of working tax credits in 2015. Again, I was self-employed back then. Though I was entitled to them, I actually was entitled to more. I've never claimed as much as I could have. And I can prove that I was entitled to them. And I can prove that what they were sanctioning me for, that's what they call it when they take money off you. They call it a sanction. They sanctioned me basically 15% of whatever Universal Credit took. They took it directly out of Universal Credit for something that I'd done 3 years ago. I went to Universal Credit to complain about it, and they said you have to speak to working tax credits. Spoke to working tax credits finally on the phone 3 times. 3 times it took me to finally get through to somebody. It's a nightmare. You do not set up a system up well. You are on hold for hours. And then when you get through, you get cut off. Especially if you have a difficult case. One that you can prove. You can prove they're wrong or nobody wants to speak to you. And I could prove what they were doing was wrong. But what they said was, because it was 2015, you've only got 12 months to appeal. So you only had 2017 to appeal, and now it's 2018, so tough. You're joking. I want to appeal. Now you'll have to get, the only people who can do it is Universal Credit, working tax credits. No, they don't really do it. Basically, for the next 6 months, they banged me backwards and forwards. And they kept taking 15% of the money off me. Bear in mind, they were already taking £50 off me per month. I still hadn't had my backdated money from December. And whenever I spoke to anybody at Universal Credit at the offices, I would get cut off and fobbed off. Oh, I'll find out about it. It's gone up the chain, etc., etc. Then, I'm just trying to think of the timeline now. It got through to September. I think it was September. And I finally had an email, it wasn't a phone call, it was an email from somebody who was dealing with my complaint. And she finally got to the bottom of it. My complaint, because it was sent to the wrong office, an email that no longer existed back in February, nothing had been done with it. 7 months. 7 months since I originally made the complaint, and me calling up every single week, I think. Certainly once, twice a month for those months, trying to get to the bottom of it. They fobbed me off for 7 months, and in the end, I'm sorry, we've sent it to the wrong place. We sent it to an email that I can actually prove this. I've still got the emails. She finally took my complaint and went through the complaints process, and it came back. No proof, no proof, no proof, no proof. All of my complaints, they just said it's no proof. I'm like, I have got the proof. I rang him up. I said, I have got the proof. I've got the people at Universal Credit. I got that woman. I know her. She's lovely. She'll tell the truth. I finally rang up and she'd been dismissed and sacked from the job months prior. She was working in Bilston, miles away. Couldn't get in touch with her. The guy who was lovely with me all of a sudden wouldn't take my calls. I had no recourse of action. Now that was by September this year, so I was making basically enough. I wasn't still not making minimum wage now, but I was making enough to basically keep by. I was basically, if you look at my t-shirts, are £2. February came and I was expecting them basically to. I think it was about £180 a payment I was expecting from them because of how much I'd got in January. And I'd calculated they were going to send me about £180. And they didn't send it. And basically the reason they didn't send it was this is basically all the help they will give you for a year. After that, you're on your own. I'm still not making that minimum income floor now. As a result of them not paying me that, by the way, then I never got the backdated money, the 6 weeks backdated money I should have. I never got it. But this is what the universal credit system is, people. And this is what the system is. It's not designed to help people. It's not designed to be a safety net. It's designed to frustrate you as much as possible, and designed to fuck you over as much as possible, and designed to make you absolutely tearing your hair out in frustration. That's how it's designed. Because if it was designed with helping in mind, then by God have they fucked up at every single fucking turn that they could have. To the people at Thomas Cook, the 9,000, many of which who will be going to Universal Credit, this is your future. Get everything down, get everything on tape, make sure everything is recorded. When you talk to somebody, record every fucking conversation. Because if you don't, there will be no recourse of action. You have to get them by the balls. Because they'll do it with you. I'm living proof of it. Universal Credit is the Tory final solution. This is what you've got to expect, Thomas Cook staff. I hope you really have a much, much better experience with Universal Credit than I and millions of others have. My worry is many of you, at least one or two of you, it's going to be too much for them. Same as it has for many others who have killed themselves as a result of being sanctioned like I was and having no recourse of action. I hope you get a different treatment. Stephen Davis, universal credit doesn't do what it was set up to do. It costs far more to administer than what they actually save. Stephen Davis, it's set up exactly to do the thing it's doing, to drive you nuts and to frustrate you at every turn. It's doing exactly its job. It was set up. It's doing exactly what it was set up to do. Exactly. It's just they're telling you it was set up to do something different. That's what it is. No, debt will set you free. Somebody said. Oh dear. I wasn't going to talk about that today, but like I say, I saw that and all right. Okay. We've done that, and we've done that. Ooh, we can do that in a bit. So, you might remember, everyone. Actually, let me get it to. There you go. Hi, everyone. So, you might remember, I wrote a letter to my MP because Chris Williamson has launched an early day motion to condemn the ongoing mistreatment and imprisonment of journalist Julian Assange. I should keep prefacing his name with 7 times nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize Award journalist Julian Assange. And I said Julian Assange has been tortured on home soil and now incarcerated. Now, I haven't had a response yet. It's been a week, and I'll explain what I've done at the end. But I inspired somebody else, or at least, somebody else was inspired to send. In fact, it wasn't just somebody else. I know plenty of people who have sent letters to their MPs. And you know what? If you've sent an email to your MP on this, thank you very much. And if you haven't, why not? It's really important to get them on record. Watch. This is why. This is from Andy Dowett, who asked his MP, "Dear Mr. Hanson, I would kindly like to ask your support of the early day motion that Chris Williamson has tabled in defence of Mr. Julian Assange, who is being held in HMP Belmarsh. All the facts I have read and researched into the case, Mr. Assange has done nothing wrong. Many thanks, Andy Dowett." Many thanks, Andy Dowett, for doing that. Just thank you. Little things, guys. Honestly, the littlest thing can really help. You're not powerless. He had a response, and this is his MP, David Hanson, and he had a response, and this is what the MP has said. I'm going to read all of this. Okay, I'm going to read it to the end, and then I'll respond. I'll try and read it all anyway, without vomiting. Dear Andy, thank you for providing your post. How do you think he speaks? I actually never seen this guy. How do you think he speaks? If I saw him, I'd probably recognise him. Anyway, thank you for providing your postal address to discuss the early day motion, which condemns the imprisonment of Julian Assange and the possible extradition to the United States. Yes, if you are going to send your MP an email, you must always put your address to say that you are a member of their constituent, and then they can look and they can check you on the register, and then they will respond to you. And if you're not on the register, at least maybe they'll tell you. Who knows? But he said Mr. Assange was found guilty at Westminster Magistrates Court for breaching his bail conditions. He is facing up to 12 months in prison for that charge. Julian Assange is wanted by Sweden for allegations of sexual assault. He chose himself to seek political refuge in the Ecuadorian embassy in London instead of facing a free press and open trial in Sweden. The Ecuadorian president inviting the Metropolitan Police into the embassy to arrest Mr. Assange, who refused arrest, and therefore the Metropolitan Police had to forcibly remove him. I cannot explain Mr. Assange's motives for not cooperating with the police. As I understand it, he continues, Sweden has a law which means that no one can be extradited from their country to another which still uses the death penalty. Therefore, it is highly unlikely that Mr. Assange will be extradited from Sweden to the United States of America. I believe people accused of rape should face a free and fair trial. That is why I hope that if the request comes from the Swedish government that they wish to see Mr. Assange extradited for trial, he will be. There are serious allegations against him, and they should be decided in court where the alleged crimes took place. As this is an ongoing case, I will not be signing the early day motion. It is important that parliamentarians do not intervene in court matters, which the extradition may end up back in court. Thank you again for contacting me. Yours sincerely, David Hanson. Incredible, isn't it? We bring over what I would respond with, shall we? Okay, so what I've got here is his. I've copy and pasted his email in black, and the red is how I would respond, and this is how I would respond, Andy. If you want to send that email, in fact, I'll send you an email so you can, take what you want from it and send it to him. But this is how I would respond. Mr. Hanson, thank you for your swift response. Although I appreciate you responding, your stance is somewhat misguided and contains many factual errors. And then I go on to his first mistake there, where he said he is facing up to 12 months in prison. No, he got 50 weeks. It says here, I would say, Mr. Assange was indeed sentenced to 50 weeks in prison on the 1st of May 2018, Gordon, not 2019, you silly prick. On the 1st of May 2018, Mr. Assange was... I'll start that again. Mr. Assange was indeed being sentenced. Don't smoke pot, kids. Mr. Assange was indeed sentenced to 50 weeks in prison on the 1st of May 2018, an excessive term considering he has 0 prior convictions. He has now served half of that sentence and is therefore entitled to release. Right now, sir, he is a political prisoner. He has served his time for that charge of jumping bail. He is now a political prisoner serving time for no crime at all. As an elected official, I expect you should know that, especially this is such a high-profile case. It's important. He should know that Assange has already been sentenced, and he should know that Assange has served his term. He's an elected official, he should. Now this is the paragraph about Sweden. Boy, did I have some fun with this. So when I say fun, I mean, you'll see. Sir, either you are wrong because you are misinformed in this paragraph, or you are trying to gaslight a member of your own constituency that you have a duty to serve. Julian Assange is not wanted for any allegations of sexual assault. Swedish prosecutors interviewed him for 2 days inside the embassy. It's true, they did. The investigation has been closed and reopened at least twice. Honestly, I think it might even be as many as 4 times. I know twice for sure. I think it might even be 4 times. Yet no charges, under heavy political pressure from the United States, I might add. Yet no charges have ever been brought and the investigation closed. He did not seek asylum in the embassy, as you assert, to avoid a trial in Sweden. There were not and never have been any charges in Sweden. he sought asylum in the Ecuadorian embassy from extradition to the United States, who he believed wanted to try him in a secret trial for proving they committed war crimes and covered them up. And guess what, sir? Yes, that's exactly what happened. That is now irrefutable. You can't say what that MP was saying with a straight face. I bet you he does there. Also, the Ecuadorian president invited the Metropolitan Police into the embassy to arrest Mr. Assange after receiving a $4.2 billion loan from the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, with a promise of a further $6 billion in investment in Ecuador from various non-governmental organisations, US corporations. Are you trying to tell me that that had no influence? If so, want to buy a bridge? Those loans and investments, of course, which had austerity measures attached, those loans and investments, of course, had austerity measures attached, which Ecuadorians are now in the streets protesting against. Yes, I'll be covering that in a bit if I've got enough time. And this is the bit. As I understand it, he says, Sweden has a law which means that no one can be extradited from their country to another which still uses the death penalty. Therefore, it is highly unlikely that Mr. Assange would be extradited from Sweden to the United States. So do we, mate. We have that law, don't we? Let me just check that before I tell Andy to send this email. I'm going to use Google as well. I don't want to use Google. What am I using Google? Where's my DuckDuckGo? Aha! Does anybody in the in the chat know this for sure? I just want to check this just to make sure. What countries will not extradite to the US? No, I know we will. See, the UK rules out death penalty extradition. The UK would not send people to the US under new extradition measures if they might face the death penalty. Well, this is obviously he mightn't he? I mean, we'll get onto it in a minute. But this is the BBC. I know this is a while. This is 2003. This is the UK. So this is the Guardian. This is obviously GCHQ's mouthpiece. Questions raised decision not to oppose its potential use in the US in the case of two I suspect subjects. Sajid left us through a channel in which Home Secretary says you will not seek assurances over the use of death penalty against him. What is the UK? Okay. The UK abolished the death penalty for murder in 1965. Looking overseas, there has been a long-held opposition to the death penalty in all circumstances. That the UK will not seek assurances that the death penalty will not be used against two former British citizens if they were put on trial and convinced in the US for alleged crimes committed in Syria as members. So there's a lot of nots there, isn't there? That the UK will not seek assurances that the death penalty will not be used against two former... Right, okay. The Extradition Act 2003 allows the UK to extradite individuals to certain countries, including the US, but removing somebody to the authority of a foreign state is prohibited by statute if that person could face the death penalty. So yeah, I'm right. Andy? Boom. Yeah, your argument's screwed, mate. Your MP's argument, he's screwed. So do we. I had to check it because I do go on to say a little bit. I hate to tell you that, and the United States has a habit of people who with info on powerful people getting suicided in their prisons, don't they? Jeffrey Epstein? Question mark. If Sweden cannot, then neither can we. Did you not make that connection? Why is it less likely Sweden will extradite him than us? Are they better than us at following their own laws? Evidently so. Then he goes on to say, I believe that people accused of rape should face a free and fair trial. Here we go. This is where I say, where are these allegations you keep speaking of? He does say here, there are serious allegations against him and they should... Allegations! Oh my God, there's allegations! Oh, there's allegations! There's allegations that I'm a far-right loon paid by Israel. There's allegations. Should I face trial for that? There's allegations that Donald Trump is telling the truth and it's a witch hunt. Shouldn't have really used that as an example. But oh my God, allegations. You're going to extradite people on just because they've alleged, somebody's alleged something now? Where are these allegations you keep speaking of, I say? Fine. Until that happens and the Swedes want him there, release him. Again, he's making an argument which is just useless. What is the point of this? If there were just allegations, you're saying he's wanted in Sweden. If there's just allegations in Sweden, why the hell should we extradite him there anyway? When the Swedes don't want him, why? Because they actually value the rule of law and they keep closing the fucking case. Until that happens and the Swedes want him there, release him. He served his time for that crime of jumping bail, for that ridiculous theatre concocted to ensnare him. Should really spell theatre wrong, shouldn't I? No, that's right. That's right. It's not wrong. Don't give me your little squiggly red line, theatre. That's spelt right. It's the Americans who spell it wrong. Your argument is moot, I said. There are no charges. If there are, then deal with them. But as it stands, you are basically saying throw him in jail and let him rot for something another country might do. Eventually. At some stage. Who knows? Maybe. There's allegations, and those allegations, they might lead to something, so got to keep me in Supermax. Are you kidding me? How can this person be so misinformed? Of course, he's not that misinformed. He can't be, because if he's that misinformed, then he's incompetent. And he then says, this is an ongoing case, I will not be signing the EDM. I would like you, I would say, as my elected MP, he's not my elected MP, this is what I would say for Andy to respond to him. I would say, I would like you as my elected MP to address all of the facts I have just responded to you with. This is the biggest case in the history of freedom of the press, free speech and journalism. It's the biggest case in the history of it. Please, somebody try and argue any different. Give me a week to come back though, because it'll take me that long to stop laughing. And if you're not going to stand up for these things, and would rather keep misinforming or gaslighting the people you have a duty to serve, when such things are in grave danger, maybe you will find out just how badly your constituents value such freedoms in the next election, which I hear is probably going to be soon. You have either badly misinformed, you are either badly misinformed, on this important issue, or have shown me total disrespect by lying to me. Either way, I am not going to stand for an elected politician gaslighting me and insulting my intelligence. I urge you again to support the early day motion as I await your response to this email. I would like to know whether you are just misinformed on this issue of great importance, or whether you're attempting to gaslight your own constituents as a matter of policy. Andy. Was Andrew, but was it Andy? I hope I haven't said his name wrong now. And yeah, Andrew Dowser. Andrew, thank you. Thank you for sending it. I'll send you my response, what I would respond with to you after this stream's ended, and you can do with it what you want. I wouldn't copy it word for word. I would put something to that effect in, because he's gaslighting you. He's trying to say to you, it's nothing. It's about this rape case. It's allegations. Allegations? What? What? Allegations? You're going to extradite people to Sweden on allegations that he did something that might one day be reopened if, you know, the stars align. And this is why it's important we send these emails to our MPs. This is why it's important we get them on record, because you just highlight them for what they are and for what they say. And you know instantly they're not there representing you. He doesn't give a fuck about you, Andrew. That guy. He doesn't give a fuck. When you respond to him with the response I've given you, he'll think you're a troublemaker and he'll ignore it. He doesn't give a fuck about you. I keep thinking of George Carlin. George Carlin keeps going through my head whenever I discuss politics in this country. Why do people keep electing these rich cocksuckers that don't give a fuck about you? None of you. None of you. Zero. None. That guy's not standing up for free speech. He's not standing up for freedom of the press and journalism. He doesn't give a fuck about the fourth estate. He gives a fuck about getting elected in his next term. If you start putting pressure on them, they change their stance. Start putting pressure on them. Pick it outside his constituency if you can. Pick it. Get some signs. Get out there. Get noticed. Make life difficult for them. Play within the rules. Bend them if you have to. But make them notice you. Make your voice heard. Get them on record. Now, I've been waiting for my MP to respond. So here's what I've done. She hasn't responded yet. It's been over a week. I said, "Hello, Miss Reynolds. I am still awaiting your response to the below email. I would like an appointment at your surgery to discuss this important matter, which is a threat to press freedom." I've asked her for an appointment at her surgery. When I get this appointment, and I will get it, I'll even ask her if I can record it and get it out there. Find out why she's not supporting this early day motion. Find out what Labour's policy is on this early day motion. Find out really if our politicians care about press freedom as much as they say they do. Find out really if our politicians care about free press, about freedom. See if they really care about freedom. When they don't, when they come back with honestly, I was so tempted. I was so tempted with that email to immediately fire back. Andy, just respond to this. "Oh, so you don't support freedom, free speech, freedom of the press, the rule of law, journalism, human rights, civil liberties, the fourth estate, sovereignty, holding power accountable, or democracy then?" I'm going to nail that. Well, I'm sorry, everybody. I don't know whether I've had any... Oh, shit. Pressed the wrong button. Yeah, I don't know. Let me just check that whether I've had any super chats on, because I'm on a new chat system here, so... How you doing, everybody? All right? Quickly have a delve into the chat. Does badly misinformed mean informed? No, it means misinformed. So Cami is a good point when you ask, does badly misinformed mean informed? No, it means you're misinformed. Yeah. If you were informed, you would... Yeah, you're misinformed. That's a good one, though. But all right, 7th of October. Yes, we have Matthew Summers. Says towards a massage. Thanks, man. That's really appreciate that. Appreciate it. And Set says for a happy ending. Thank you, mate. I'm not sure how much. And I'm not sure how much $4.49 Australian is that. Does that get you a happy ending where you live? Wow. The Australian commerce is the Australian economy is even more in the tank than I thought it was. I'm going to be talking about this in the next few days, everyone. Okay, I have seen it. It's bad. You know, I want to do a proper video about it though and try and link it with other things rather than just do a news story. I want to get away from just doing news stories, you know, and try and maybe have some sort of effect rather than just report on what other people are reporting. And I hope that comes across a little bit. I hope that comes across okay. What do you think of Trump's impeachment trap of the Democrats, said Ralph Hexham. Well, what I think is this is going to be another Russiagate, and they're already calling it Ukrainegate. In several places, they're already calling it Ukrainegate. It's not what he's done trap-wise. I mean, he's gone after somebody in the establishment. He's broke the golden rule. He's gone after somebody in the establishment. He's broken the golden rule. And as soon as he started going after somebody in the establishment, that was it. You know, they were always going to come up with this thing. Now, I'm fed up of the media calling him a whistleblower. This guy is not a whistleblower. He's not a whistleblower. A CIA whistleblower blows the whistle on shit the CIA are doing. That's what it, and then you find out, oh, it's second and third hand and stuff like this, and now there's a second one, and it's just, honestly, it's total rubbish. The corrupt person here is Biden, and it was out in the open. It was in the open. It's not like Trump is uncovering stuff. Trump didn't just magically find that Biden talking at that conference. That was out in the open months before. He's the corrupt one. His son's getting like $80-something thousand a month, and now I'm hearing $100K a month sitting on an energy board. Never any experience in energy at all. You know, 100,000. I tell you, it's great. It's great if you can get it, isn't it? It's great work if you can get it. They're all corrupt. All of them. This is why when Trump went after Biden, he crossed the line. Because he's one of them. It's a big club, and you and I are not in the big club. Biden is, though. Trump is, Biden is. You can't go after somebody in your big club. It'll be another Russiagate. It'll be a hoo-ha over nothing. The media will have scoop after scoop after scoop after scoop after scoop. You know, the Democrats will talk about impeachment because they don't have any policies to talk about. The Democrats will just talk about impeachment. I'm talking Pelosi and what have you. And again, same problem as over here. Carlin all over again. Why do people keep electing these rich motherfuckers who don't give a fuck about you? Nancy Pelosi in California. California. The most progressive state there is. Nancy fucking Pelosi. Nancy Pelosi. The fuck are you kidding me? And then people go, you gotta vote Labour Democrats. It's like, you gotta vote Labour. You gotta vote Labour. Yeah, but Tom Watson's my fucking MP. What are you going to tell somebody who what, you vote for Labour then? Yeah, but Nancy Pelosi's my... No, all they've got is impeachment talk. You know, That's all they've got, because they've got no policies. Because let's face it, the Democrats are fine with losing. The Democrats are fine with losing to Donald Trump. They're fine with it. As much as they talk about impeachment and they've got Trump derangement syndrome and whatever, they are deep down fine. Because it's better than the alternative to them, which is a progressive in the White House. And somebody who actually has a policy that will cost their donors money. And that's Bernie Sanders. Or in my case, I'm still a Tulsi fan. Even now, yes. Even now. After the whole racial smear, which was a smear. That's what I think about it, mate. Thanks for the question. Why don't you unseat Tom Watson, says Jagpreet? I don't need to, because George Galloway's going to. Yeah, I mean, just think about that. For all you Labour supporters, and I get a load of grief from Labour supporters, Don't try and shame me. Don't try it. You've got to vote, really? What if I lived in West Brom? What if I lived in West Brom and my MP was Tom Watson? What if, just, you expect me to vote for them? They don't care about you. They don't. There's probably only about 20 of them in the House of Commons in total who really do. And about another 80 who say they do that are badly misinformed. Badly misinformed. And end up sending you emails like the one I've just read out. Maybe he is. Maybe he's trying to do his best. Who knows? And he's just had that, I don't know. Maybe he's that out of touch. He doesn't realise how important this is. This is why we tell them and we put pressure on them. Can you imagine if he had 5 people, just 5 in his constituency, send him an email on that one issue? Just 5, and really hold his feet to the fire, and then send it me. Believe me, send me your stuff. Send me those emails that you've had a response. Let me shame them. Let me tell you how I'd respond. Let me put the record straight. Because your MPs are fucking lying to you. Either that, or they're badly misinformed, which means they need to be voted out because they're fucking incompetent. Fuck the government. Fuck them. Oh, I'm scared for my life. Fuck you. Fuck you. If you create an environment like you have, and you feed into that right-wing extremism like you have, and clutch your pearls like you have at every little fucking thing that goes on, the natural progression from that is for a right-wing extremist act, for a nutcase to do something like kill somebody. You're feeding that narrative. You fucking know you do, I swear. And you say that person who was killed is your friend. You're bolstering up this nationalistic right-wing, I keep saying right-wing, it's not right-wing. You're bolstering up the nutcases, the extremists, the extremism. You're presenting the extremism as if it's the main thing. You're presenting that. You're presenting it to people as if you're trying to say to them, if you went Brexit, you're racist. Look, that's what you're doing. By concentrating on this, on the extremes and bolstering them up, you're trying to say to people, this is what people think. If you want Brexit, then you're a racist. But the thing is, you're bolstering up the extremism. When you do that, extremist acts happen. That's why she's afraid for her life. Rightly so. You've created the environment at which that exists. Congratulations. I wonder what Jess Phillips thinks about Julian Assange. Can somebody in Yardley send her an email, please? I'd love to get her on record. I'd love to see what bollocks she comes back with. I'd love to be able to dismantle that. Because I guarantee you this, she will not get deselected tonight. Or get trigger, face that. She'll win that trigger ballot, or rather, I think that's the right terminology. When Tom Watson goes, it won't be because of anything that Labour did. It won't be because of anything that the Labour members did. When Tom Watson goes, it'll be because George Galloway did something. Think about that. And when Jess Phillips goes, it won't be because of anything that Labour do. It'll be because something that somebody else does that ousts her from her seat. It won't be from within Labour. They protect them. They have systems to protect them. Now, if you're at the grassroots of Labour, then get those things changed. But until those things are changed, don't try and shame people into voting Labour. Don't try and do it. Because from what I can see, that early day motion, there were still only 5 signatures, and one of those obviously is Chris Williamson. Still only 5 MPs. 5. So only 5 MPs actually stand up for freedom, free speech, freedom of the press, the rule of law, journalism, human rights, civil liberties, the fourth estate, sovereignty, holding power account, and democracy. 5. I'm assuming the other 645 down there are waiting, whether Sweden's allegations are ever going to come to anything, and until then they're going to keep him in Supermax. Because that MP who wrote Andrew, that's what he was suggesting. Let's keep him in Supermax. Sure, there might be some allegations from Sweden. There's some allegations from Sweden. Whoa! Let's keep him in Supermax. What the... Quickly log on to the comments. I've got a new comment system here, and it's not actually working too much. Thank you, Jamie. GD4PM, Jamie Wells just said. I would never do that, mate. No, thank you. Which 5? Which 5, says Jonathan Cook? Let me go and get it for you. Bum, 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 bum. So it's Chris Williamson, Calvin Hopkins, Anne Clwyd, Mr. Ronnie Campbell, and Graham Morris, 3 of which are from Labour, and obviously 2 independents. So yeah, those are the 5 that have signed it so far. Those are the 5 MPs that so far have said, yes, we support freedom, free speech, freedom of the press, the rule of law, journalism, human rights, civil liberty, the fourth estate, sovereignty, holding power accountable, and democracy. Tell me Jess Phillips is being deselected. She won't be deselected, Pam. She won't. I'd be amazed if Jess Phillips actually faced that trigger ballot tonight. Actually lost that ballot tonight. I'd be amazed. To be honest, I'm a little bit amazed that she's even facing one at all. I guess, was it 30% or something like that I've got to get? I'll have to check on the rules. You look like you could do with a cuppa. I do, Jagpreet. This is it's empty. I just want to quickly, if I can, I think I've got this other one set up. Yeah, I have. Hi everyone. So Lenin Moreno, president of Ecuador, he invited the London Met to go into their embassy in Knightsbridge, as we know, earlier this year, to arrest Julian Assange. What was it, in April? Now, many thought at that time, including me, that Lenin Moreno, the president, and his decision to allow this course of action, to allow the Met to go in and drag him out and drag Julian Assange out, which, by the way, was in direct violation of his own constitution in Ecuador, had something to do with the fact that around the same time as this went on, the International Monetary Fund, the IMF, announced $4.2 billion in loans for Ecuador, and other various non-governmental organisations announced further investment of another $6 billion. Now, if you're over here and you're thinking about that, and you're thinking, hold on a minute, so Ecuador got $10 billion of investment, then surely that's great, isn't it? Surely the Ecuadorians, well, they'd be happy about that, wouldn't they? Surely. 10 billion is a lot of money, after all, especially for, a smaller economy like Ecuador. No, because even at the time, look, there were, just turn the volume down, but even at the time, this is the Ecuadorians protesting against the treatment of Assange when he was dragged out. I can tell you that is far worse than we had down there. There was far more people in the street in Ecuador out protesting the treatment of Assange than there were in the UK. They dwarf the numbers. I was down there. There was nothing like this. Ecuadorians were mad as hell. Mad as hell. And it wasn't just because what happened to Assange and what Moreno allowed the Met to do was in direct violation of their constitution. The people knew what was coming on the back of this investment. Listen to Ecuador's former president, Rafael Correa, explain what it is about the IMF that the South American countries, the Bolivarian countries, just find so toxic about it. Thanks for Maria for tweeting this out. But this is why. Now this is in Spanish, so I'm probably going to actually turn the desktop audio down a little bit, so I can obviously give you what he's saying. And we know by heart the recipe of the International Monetary Fund, its structural adjustments, its packages of measures. In Latin America, we call it paquecitos, eliminating subsidies, lowering wages, mass layoffs, cutting off social benefits. This is what he's saying, what it comes with these IMF loans. This is what comes with the loans. This is what they expect in return. Austerity. Infrastructure spending. And then they would lend you the money. So he's saying if you accept all these austerity measures, all these cuts to all those services, then they will lend you money. And then, what good is it? If I can't do anything with the money, I can't do anything with the money. I can do one thing: pay off private debt. And so the debt is liquidated. Countries pass, as they did to us, to owe private financial capital to banks, to owe these multilateral countries, and that does not solve anything. Let me just go back and say it. To owe these multilateral institutions, and that does not solve anything. Only profits for private financial capital was guaranteed. Exactly the same is happening in Greece, and go to see who were the banks that lent their money to Greece. They don't think of people, dear companions. We know by heart they only think of regaining financial capital. That is why Ecuadorians were in the street about Assange. That was why. because they knew what come with it. They knew that now, oh, he's done that and he's only done it to get the investment. They knew that's what the sorry, very sorry. Are you okay? You might have heard my dog squeal then. Come here, Ellie. My dog's pulled a muscle in her leg, people. That's why all of a sudden it clipped out. You okay? She's pulled a muscle in her leg and she's hurt, and she's my dog and I love her. So whenever she goes, ah, I'm like, oh. Yeah, those Assange supporters down there that you saw protesting, they knew what was coming. This is from The Guardian. Ecuador, indigenous protesters paralyse roads on 5th day of anti-austerity rest. They're in the streets. They're blocking roads. Blocking roads because now those austerity measures have come. Correa knew that when it comes to the IMF and capital from Western NGOs, it means that you have to accept these austerity measures. And it means that they only care about, their capital investment. They don't care about anything else. They don't care about the people, about extracting the wealth. And like night follows day, Ecuador's austerity measures have now kicked in. And after taking their loans from the IMF, the people aren't happy about it one bit. They're in the streets and they're blocking roads. This was just, when was this from? October the 3rd, so this is just a few days ago. And they're just going, the people are going on, they're trying to block road after road after road, and they're causing chaos over there. There's plenty of videos like this. Right, the government of Ecuador announces a state of exception for 60 days following violence on the streets and a massive transportation strike. This is the price that Ecuador are now paying. This is the backlash from the people at these austerity measures. Austerity measures that are having to be implemented because Ecuador took loans from the IMF and the NGOs on the back of them allowing the Met to go in and drag Assange out of the embassy in an act of fashion. This is the latest one. This is from the Nutsi, who posted some great stuff. School bus drivers in Quito now on strike and have joined mobilisations against IMF austerity. Chants, Lenin Moreno, hypocrite and traitor. The people reject you in all of Ecuador. This is what's really going on in the world, people. This is what's really going on in the world. This is what's really important. This is the stuff that they're doing behind your back. This is the stuff that's happening while our media going, look at Brexit. Look at this. Look at Brexit over here. They've disrupted we have disrupted the lives of millions of people, the other side of the world, us and the US, to get our hands on one journalist. One. We caused all that. Makes you proud to be British, doesn't it? Oh, learned hand, you need to change that, mate. Well, your comments you don't want to be duplicating your comments, mate. You start doing that, and YouTube will come down on you like a tower of bricks. There's something I saw just before I came on air. This is from CNN. UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson vowed to talk to the US ambassador and US President Donald Trump if necessary. This is about a US diplomat who hit a teenager on the wrong side of the road. She was on the wrong side of the road, honestly, and killed him in this country. And she was interviewed by police, said, don't worry, I'm not going to leave. And then she's buggered off back to the US without facing any... It's incredible, this is, honestly. UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson vowed to talk to the US ambassador and US President Donald Trump if necessary about an incident involving an American diplomat's wife who left Britain after becoming a suspect in a traffic collision that killed a passenger. A teenager. Motorcyclist Harry Dunn, 19, died in the fatal August 27th accident in Northamptonshire, Central England. I should know how to say that word. I am from England. After crashing head-on with a car driving on the wrong side of the road. From America. An American driving on the wrong side of the road. Do you think that's got something to do with it? Anna Sokules, 42, who Johnson named as the suspect in the investigation on Monday, left the UK despite assuring the police she would remain in the country in the near future. So she's basically been involved in a head-on collision on the wrong side of the road, killed somebody, and the police have said, now you won't leave the country, will you? She's gone, no, don't worry, 'cause I won't. And then at the first opportunity, fucked off. The incident took place on the Vista of Croton, which is a home of Royal Air Force Station controlled by the United States Air Force. Well, what do you know? She was at the Air Force Base. The case sparked an outcry over the weekend among British lawmakers and the victim's family after a police request for Tsakula's diplomatic immunity to be waived was rejected. I do not think that it can be right to use the process of diplomatic immunity for this type of purpose, Johnson said on Monday. I hope that Anne Tsakoulas will come back and engage properly with the processes of law that they carried on in this country. So basically, what is happening here? What I'm reading between the lines, I know, but I think what is happening here is we will lock up a journalist on behalf of the United States for proving they are war criminals. Not a problem with that. We'll just straight in Belmarsh, in our Guantanamo Bay. We'll trump up a charge. Don't worry about it. We'll get our press to go along with us. We'll silence them. We'll put fucking D notices on them and all sorts. All right. We'll do all that. We'll torture them for you because United States, they are our special partner. We have a special relationship. We would do anything for you, sirs. And then an American has killed somebody over here, fucked off back to America. And we've gone, can we have her back? Is there any chance you can come back? Face some consequences for, killing a kid? Any chance you can come back over here? What do you think is going to happen? What do you think is going to happen? Do you think she will ever face a trial over here? Didn't I hear Sajid Javid and all the Tories line up when Julian Assange was dragged out of that embassy on behalf of this country? Didn't I hear them all line up and say the words, nobody is above the law? Some animals are equal. Other animals are more equal than others, or some animals are equal. And some animals are more equal than others, and it seems if you have diplomatic credentials and you're American, you can pretty much get away with murder on UK soil. And not a damn thing we can do about it. And we'll go along being your special little partner. You're not exactly doing, yourself any favours, are you? I mean, people like me say the UK is nothing more than the United States, bitch, and this shit goes on. It's incredible. Johnson said he was going to raise the issue with the US ambassador. Oh my God. This is getting better and better. Johnson, look at this. Johnson said... Johnson said he was going to raise the issue with the US ambassador to the UK, Woody Johnson. Oh dear. Oh man. Woody Johnson. What's the name of the ambassador to the United Arab Emirates? Dick Tallywacker. If we can't resolve it, then of course we will be raising it myself personally with the White House, and nothing at all will get done because we are the United States little bitch, aren't we? Let me just go over to check the status of everything. Woody Johnson. Woody Johnson. I'm sorry, I'm a child, I know, but that's funny. Dick Tallywacker. Community. All right. Didn't look like everybody. Right, I think that's it, everybody. I think I've done everything that I wanted to. I think I've said everything I wanted to say. I will be doing a video about this 77th Brigade stuff because it's really important. Yeah, I've done everything I wanted to talk about. Right. I need your help. I need your support. Please do so. You can do through any of the links below. Go through to the website. You can send donations via PayPal one-off or subscribe via the Patreon or set up monthly donations through the website. I really appreciate all your support. It's tight, guys. It's really difficult what I'm doing. And I've got to go down to London tomorrow because I want to go down and cover the protests again at the Extinction Rebellion. And this time I want to start to really engage with the supporters down there and the people down there and really ask them questions that hopefully everybody is going to be happy with. Hopefully everybody will be happy with the questions that I ask. I'm going to try and do a good job down there. So if you can support me, please do. Yeah, things are really tight and it does depend on that little girl down there, though, as to whether I do go down there tomorrow, because I won't be going down if my little doggy is still in pain. She doesn't look well. Right, yeah, I'm going to go down and I'm going to talk to the people. I won't be concentrating on the arrests, everybody. I'm not going to go down there and concentrate on the arrests at the Extinction Rebellion. That's what the media are going to concentrate on. What I want to concentrate on is really talking to people and really trying to have a conversation with people, because I believe that the Extinction Rebellion are missing an open goal, and I want to know why, if one of their things is tell the truth, that they're not all on board with the Julian Assange thing as well. Because I think that that's something that really could highlight, you know. So anyway, I want to go down and talk to them. Thanks very much for your support, everybody. I really appreciate it. Like I say, things are really tough. Okay, they're really tough. I know things are tough for other people, and I know I'm very privileged to be able to do this, you know, as a living. But like I say, if I was a millionaire, I would be doing this. Honestly, there needs to be some sort of voice of sanity out there. There really does, for the working class at least, because we haven't got it. Thanks everyone. I really appreciate all your support. Thanks to everybody who has sent me messages of support in the past. I am going to be sending a thank you email out this week, hopefully, to anybody who sent me any sort of correspondence over the last year or two, and give you some information going forward of what I'm going to do and where I'm going to take this channel. Thanks very much, everybody. I shall be back tomorrow, and probably Wednesday, hopefully Wednesday, I'll be down in London for the Extinction Rebellion protests, and I'll go live from the scene and I'll start talking to everybody, and we can really get the truth from down there, not just concentrating on the arrests and what's happening with the arrests. Thanks very much. Peace, everyone. Take care. Love you all. Thanks for the support.